Okay, let's talk. I did a demo introduction on Photo Booth, but I realized I can upload things from Photo Booth to YouTube. So, welcome. My name is Cece, and today I just want to share some information with you that I think may be relevant to why you are single. Okay, so as an introduction, I was previously getting my master's degree in marriage and family counseling. I accidentally failed out. I'm in it. I'm in my second program again. I'll be finishing in a year and a half, God willing. But through the past few years, I've gotten to work with a lot of different families and so many great clients that I've had in my internships and my job now. But it's definitely taught me the importance of your love life. Your love life is very important, and how you are approaching it, how you're handling it, says a lot about you. So, I, like everyone in this world, was doom scrolling on my Instagram, and I see influencers, I see OnlyFans models, I see everyone talking about love. Maybe because love is always on my brain. I don't know if it's always on your brain, but a lot of the things they're saying is just kind of unfounded, and I would like to approach my podcast with research-based evidence about why you might be single, what's going on with love, and how culture, the digital age, so many things are actually affecting why you're single, besides just the choices that you're making. So today, let's start with you might be single if you are expecting too much. Men may want supermodels, they may want the girls they see on TV, they may want people who are perfect, women who fit a specific gender role. And I don't blame you, men, because there is a lot of misogyny that has been passed down to you, and the only cure is really to be educated and to be aware. So maybe you're expecting too much for a girlfriend, for a wife, for a short-term partner. Maybe you're expecting them to have lower standards, lower expectations if it's short-term. Maybe you're expecting extremely high expectations. I don't know. We need to think about the expectations we're having. And men want supermodels, and guess what? Most women want supermodels also. So height, 6'2", blue eyes, finance. There is a whole song about how women have certain expectations for men, and guess what? Most men are not 6'2". Most men are medium. Most men are short, and there are a very few out of the population who are 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". So unless you are in a higher class where you are hanging out with NFL members, I don't know. Like, maybe we need to lower expectations around height, around wages, around salary. Also, the parental dynamics that you grew up in. Maybe you were taught that you were a princess, you deserve the world, and baby girl, you do deserve the world. You do deserve that hole in your heart to be filled. But unfortunately, if you're like me, I have a huge hole in my heart, and it can't just be filled with one thing. It can be filled with an assortment of things, but especially not a flawed human being, because once you start having that expectation on a person that they are going to fulfill me, which, okay, is a very womanly, biological program thing to feel, like all these emotions around love and intimacy, and if you wanted marriage. There are only a few women I've met who did not want to have a long-term partner at the end of the day. So I think maybe for the majority of us, with research backing this up, we are biologically programmed, men and women, to be socially, interdependent on each other. And in fact, the whole world is designed to be interdependent. And if we carried this Western individualistic mindset everywhere we went as a rabbit hole, then our world would crumble because we need people to make the world work. We need the lower classes, we need the medium classes, we need the higher classes, whatever. But that is a tangent for another day. So your parental dynamics, maybe you were taught you were a princess, a man should do this for you, a man should do this, a man should do that. I'm not even gonna lie, growing up, I told everyone that if I got married, my husband would cook, he would clean, he would work, and I also would work, but I would keep my money, and he would just spend his money. And I'm not gonna lie, everyone I told when I was 16 years old, they laughed at me and they were like, Cece, you're never gonna get married. And guess what? I've still yet to get married. So I agree, let's lower our expectations around certain things, but keep high expectations towards things such as character, consistency, care. I think those three things are way more valuable than how someone looks on the outside. And in fact, that person didn't even choose their appearance unless you're having cosmetic surgery all over the place and getting abs put in. But yeah, okay. Next, online dating. Welcome to the digital age. Opportunity is everywhere. Girls are everywhere, and they're so beautiful, and there's so many men who are Instagram models doing their push-ups every day. There is a huge false sense of availability. I just wrote a paper on this, and this is researched, evidence-based research. This is a fact. This is a false sense of availability. Just like your online friends, they're still your friends, but are they physically present in your life? We need to remember what friendship is. Friendship is being with the people who are flawed, who are there. And unfortunately, the digital age has kind of curated this perfectionism, this like, let me wipe away all my flaws with editing tools. And we are projecting a different self online. So it is like very interesting to see someone's online profile and then meet them and realize that, oh my God, this person they don't look like this person online. They emulated all this confidence in their posts, but no, that's not there either. They look like a very happy, good person, but in person, you actually get to feel someone out. So the digital age has kind of screwed a lot of people over because some people fall in love with who the person is digitally versus who they actually are. And we could really get into that with AI marriages. That's kind of the same thing happening right now. So these men who are marrying, and women who are marrying their AI companions, they're falling in love with technology. They're falling in love with something that's not there, that's not real. And that's a whole other thing. That might be a diagnosis for some people in the DSM-5, but we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to diagnose people on the first episode. So we talked a little bit about Instagram. We're going to talk more about Snapchat later, but I want to leave you with the idea of a false sense of availability. You have thousands of friends, but who is actually there for Thanksgiving? Who is actually giving you a Christmas present? So let's kind of think about that, and especially in the terms of dating. There are so many girls that you're seeing online, and are they really yours? There's so many guys that you're seeing online that you're keeping track of, but do you really know them? Let's think about it. Tinder, Hinge, Bumble. So I just wrote a paper about this, and it was so interesting. It again was the false sense of availability. You can message someone 24/7. You are in contact with them. You can text them. You can meet them on Hinge with some algorithm that's supposed to find you the love of your life. But just like Instagram, the pictures often are not what they seem. And pictures say 1,000 words. I don't know. I feel like the first 10 seconds of meeting someone, that says more than any picture could. And yeah. Oops. Okay. The very interesting takeaway I took from writing this 6-page research paper, which isn't very long, was it mimics gambling. So it kind of releases, how do you say this chemical? Oxycontin? I don't know. It releases the happy chemicals. It releases addictive chemicals because the love of your life is one swipe away. So you could have a picture of a beautiful girl or a beautiful man on your Instagram, but it's always in the back of your mind, I should just keep going. And it's causing like a whole loneliness epidemic because of this false sense of availability, this false sense of matching with people. And like I want to say again, are they in your real life? Are you building a relationship with them where you're going to get a Christmas present? I don't know. But it was very interesting that the dating apps, they're like the same addictive gambling mindset, kind of like a slot machine. So keep that in mind. You might be single because you might be using the dating apps, and the dating apps are actually not working for your favor because guess what? They're a business. They have to stay in business. And if everyone is getting paired up, who is going to keep them in business? I don't know. We should think about these things. Okay, so we talked about expecting too much. I talked about women kind of having like a princess mindset. And I love that for you, Diva. Like, I'm a princess. I do what I want, whenever I want. That is one of my flaws. But also men are expecting too much from maybe who they're dating as well. I'm not too sure of the man mindset, but I have been seeing a lot of these different videos of men making women do a lot of things where it should be more fair, more partnerish. I don't think any woman wants to be carrying 3 bags, 2 children, and then having their partner just kind of walk behind or forward. But let's talk about how sometimes you might be single because you are accepting too little. So this is for my girlies and my boys who are lovers at heart, who are givers, who think the best about people because we just do. Accepting too little can really fuck up your mind. So this is because you can get easily attached to an idea of someone who is not that person, like we talked about with the digital age. That may not be who the person is. To know a person, you need to spend a lot of time with them. You need to know their friends. You need to know their family. And guess what? Any of those things could be deal breakers. But when you accept too little, a text every 4 days, a like on your thirst trap, and that's the only communication, your brain can get addicted to these highs and these lows. And it can send you on this roller coaster because you are probably anxiously attached or disorganized attachment. your attachment style is linking all your ideals and values onto a person. So every time that they interact with you, you feel, oh, I have worth, I have value. And every time they don't interact with you, they don't like your post, oh my God, I have no value. They don't like me. It doesn't matter that I got 35 likes on my Instagram story. They didn't like it. It's garbage. So, for my friends out there who are accepting too little, you need to be aware that you might be single because you are making up something that's not real. And I have been in that boat and I'm with you guys. But I do believe people can learn and people deserve chances to grow. So if you gave someone the benefit of the doubt and they really did not return the effort, cut them away, send them loose, reclaim your energy, and who knows, maybe they'll come back, but you will be better in the long run. Advice I wish someone had told me a long time ago. So, no judgment ever. So, when you're accepting too little, it can kind of go into the digital age. You're putting all these ideals onto someone. And so, I want to remind you that relationships are built off of social dynamics. That means saying hi, seeing someone on a daily basis. And I feel like there is a huge loss of like male and women friendships where you kind of gain these skills of like, okay, like this person's gonna act like this when he does this or when he encounters that, yada yada yada. You kind of learn how someone is reacting to situations, people, events, their actions, who they are, their character, and those are kind of in the friendship skills. So even though you might be dating and it might be kind of, you might be like in an early relationship, you need to remember that they are a friend first and to kind of put those friendship skills in of grace, compassion, and also kind of paying attention and being aware of just who the person is. So we kind of are, maybe in my generation, kind of lacking like the male women friendships, the platonic. And that is because of a lot of different reasons. Okay, let's talk about when you're accepting too little, you might be scared to be cringe. The risk might weigh more than the reward. A negative encounter, not getting a message fast enough. Those are all like kind of risks and micro rejections, and micro rejections can really further loneliness and depression. So I understand if you want to be more careful, but at the same time, when you accept too little, you will never kind of know a person, and you need to know someone if you're going to have a relationship eventually. If you are afraid of mistakes, if you are too attached, and that's because of the highs and the lows of the inconsistency when you're accepting too little. For my girlies and my boys who might be in that boat, if you're tracking, look inside, take a deep breath. It's okay. You gave someone the benefit of the doubt. Believe them. No more chances. You can do this. Okay, so there are two kind of extremes. As conclusion, there are those people who expect too much, and there are people who accept too little. And those two reasons might be why you're single. I don't know. We should also talk about gender roles. So my grandmother was forced to get married to someone at 14 years old. In the South, in Mississippi, and I think about how that was not too long ago. That was like less than 80 years ago. And gender roles are very much different. So for the first, I think women now are the second generation to have the freedom to have a career, to be a doctor, to be a lawyer, to have high-paying jobs, and to have credit cards and to own houses without the signature of a husband. So gender roles have changed completely. And men, I'm not sure, like, there's been a lot of misogyny on this side, but to be honest, like, I'm not going to bash you guys because I think I read this book. I read it just because I was very interested. And it was kind of like the psychology, like the 7 fundamental steps of what it is to be a man. And the book was writing about how women's roles have changed so much that predicted 2025, most women are going to be single and unmarried because the man's role has been taken away. So it's like women now are stepping into like this whole freedom that was very blocked off, and it's very new. I think my mom wanted me to get married right after high school, to which I said no thank you. But that's my mom. Like, it's like I feel like I'm the first generation in her family, because she was an immigrant, to not have to get married. So it's really like your parents might not have prepared you for how the gender roles are going to be so different and divided. No, I want to look up what it is. I read this book from like 30 years ago, and it was this research of how, like I said, men's roles are changing. So it's very interesting because I don't even know what you guys are supposed to do, and I understand if you feel lost. Someone at my gym the other day was like, this was when men were allowed to be men. And in my brain, I just was like, what does that mean? Like, aren't we all allowed to be who we are? But I think that that's a different podcast issue I want to get into. So I do want to say, biologically, if we're looking at the biological standpoint of our DNA and how we're made, men are more sex-oriented. They're more visual creatures. That is how you are programmed. And that's okay. But because of this need to spread your seed, it does cause men to be more scared of commitment. And it makes a lot of sense because there's like a biological block behind being committed. I will say there is research behind men who end up having kids. Their like sex drive kind of lowers a little bit, and it makes them more committed and step into a leadership role. And it does, obviously it causes like you to be more mature, I would hope, unless you just run away from your family. But when men have kids, there is something else that shifts, and it lowers this need to spread their seed. I don't know another way to say that. And it, I don't want to say this word. I don't like this word, but it's something like your primal needs become a little bit more domesticated. And there is research that backs that up with men who become fathers. So kids do change men biologically, and I think, that's like an interesting fact. So, I don't know. Love you, men. Love you guys. Okay, so there are a lot of reasons that you're single. Just as a little quick summary, you might be expecting too much. You might be accepting too little. We are living in the digital age now. Gender roles have completely shifted and changed. These are 4 things that are not your fault. So, for my friends out there who are blaming everything about themselves, maybe you need to change. I don't know you, but there are factors that are bigger than you that are happening in our generation. So, what is all the solution to everything, all this information that I have researched and given to you? What is behind it all? I want you to think, because there is no judgment at all if you are looking for instant gratification love or a slow build long-term love. So if you are looking for an instant gratification love will be kind of easy. You know, there is a lot of opportunity out. I feel like it just got dark all of a sudden. Okay. There is a lot of opportunity out there for you because of the digital age. And you do want to be careful about this false sense of availability and false sense of connection. But yeah, like, go for it. Like, love will not bring you too many challenges if you're just looking for instant gratification. But with conflict, that might become the ultimate divider. So if you're looking for an instant gratification love, that is a great way to, that is a great way to learn more about yourself, more about what you want, more about what you need, more about how you interact with love, maybe what your attachment style is, and yeah, no judgment, no judgment. If you're looking for a slow build, lifetime partner type of love, oh my goodness. Okay. I think love is kind of more challenging because if you're looking for a lifetime partner, you want to be really aware of who you're partnering with. I've met so many women who have partnered themselves with these men, and I've met men who, are you guys okay? Men who have partnered themselves with these women, and now they're in these horrible situations. My friend, her husband took everything she had away from her, and the women I work with, the men have taken everything away from them. So when you're looking for a lifetime partner love, you do want to be aware of the red flags. You want to be aware of, you know, do they have character? Are they consistent? And are they caring? You know, those three things are very vital and important. Love, when you're looking for a long-term partner, is more vulnerable because you're starting with a lot of intention. You're starting with a lot of conversation. You may wait a little bit longer to have sex just so that men can form an emotional attachment, because men don't really form strong emotional attachments most times with women who they have sex with immediately. And if you are looking to have this long-term love, you are kind of choosing to live in uncomfortability. You might be choosing to live in singleness, because you might choose to heal. You might choose to say, like, wow, these are my flaws. Like, I should heal before I pursue someone else. But also, when you find someone who is also willing to have a slow burn fire with you, there's a lot of uncomfortability. You might be doing a lot of new things that are different than your instant gratification love era. So things you might have just rolled your eyes at before, you know, you might sit down and have a conversation and say, hey, like, when you left, like, your socks on the floor, like, I hated picking them up. And, you know, like, that's conflict. In a way, you can always use humor, but it also opens up the conversation for vulnerability. But it's very interesting because in instant gratification love, conflict becomes like a divider, usually. But with a slow burn love, with a lifetime partner, like a lifetime guarantee, with a long-term partner, the conflict, if you learn how to handle it, will actually grow you closer. Do people in long-term relationships often handle conflict in a healthy way? I don't know. I know a lot of people who are in relationships for years and they're very unhappy. And I think conflict is like very important to know how to handle and deal with. But we can talk about that in a different podcast. Why are my friends in long-term relationships unhappy? Like, how do I have a happy long-term relationship versus a long, miserable, unhappy one? I don't know. Maybe that's an idea. But when you're looking for a slow build love, there's a lot of vulnerability because you might know what you're looking for and you might know, like, hey, like this guy, his character is not great, or this girl, she's beautiful, but like she's just not it. And it takes a lot of vulnerability, not just to like have conversations and be willing to end things, but also to be like vulnerable with yourself and to be truthful with yourself. So yeah, those are very yeah. I'm interested in all of this, but I think it's very important to remember when you are single and when you are dating, when you are talking, to remember everyone has flaws. You can either accept them or you can not accept them, but also remember you have flaws too. So, yes, this is my little 30-minute podcast of why you might be single.